Moreover, but I thank you very much for coming once again to the Gate of Trust, Sha'ar Emunah U'Bitachon, here at the BGC Siyot Minyan 3rd floor, the place to be. We are looking forward to see you every Monday. Today we have a prestige guest, Rabbi Nissan Yaubov. We know him for so many years. He's doing amazing jobs for making people happy, for inspiring people, for get people. And when I represent today the lectures tonight, I said to the community, this is one lecture that you don't want to miss. Your life will never be the same. If you want to have a smile, come tonight. And Baruch Hashem, thank God. Thank God people made the effort. For that I want to bless each one of you to have a long life, and a healthy life, and a happy life, to fulfill everything that you wish and desires. And let us say amen. I will say a few points before I'm going to invite Rabbi Nissan. I will say a few points with your permission. You know, Sfirat Omer, what's the message of Sfirat Omer? We count in every night, we count in again and again and again. One time I saw in English beautiful statements. Don't count the days, make the day count. There's a big difference between counting the days. Counting the days is just another days and another days. You don't really feel any meaning, but make the day count. Avraham v'Sarah zekenim ba'im bayamim, the Pasuk said, when Avraham and Sarah came to the Almighty God, after 175 years, or Sarah after 127 years, they came with each days. It was not even one day that went to waste. You know how many days you wish that they're going to pass through, that they will never happen? How many days you don't remember what exactly did? This is what Sfirat Omer. Count the days. Why is it important to count? Why is it important to remember every day? And maybe the message is even more important, even more deeper, that every day that you count, make a difference in your life. You cannot skip the years. Ask every older man. He's going to tell you, I wish that I knew today, that I knew 20 years ago what I know today. But it will never happen. 20 years ago you used to be young. How do we call it in Hebrew? The stupid age of 16, 17, 18, that age that you believe that you know and you're the smartest person in the world. Age make a difference in your life. Every day teach you, every obstacle teach you something. This is the secret of faith and trust. What's it mean, faith and trust? Faith and trust is understanding that every obstacle that I have in life is for my benefits. When Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai left the cave after 13 years of being in the cave, the Gemara said his body was completely corrupt. He had holes all over the body. When his father-in-law was crying, Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair, and said, why to me that I saw you? I feel so bad that I see you like that, Rabbi Shimon. You know what Rabbi Shimon responded? Thank God you see me like that. Because if not for the 13 years in the cave, if not for this suffering, I will never achieve the level to become Rabbi Shimon. You see, many times when you pass obstacles and you said, why bad things happen to good people? They are not bad. This is good things that happen to good people. You just have to have a little patience. You lose money, you lose a job, no matter what. You have to remember that our obstacle, I say it many times in English, what doesn't kill you, make you stronger. מה שלא הורג אותך, מחשל אותך. You hear that? Every obstacle that you pass, make you stronger and wiser for the future. How that Chazal said, Yagata umatzata ta'amin. When you sweat for something and you find it, believe in it. You know why? You own it. This is yours. Something that nobody else can take from you. Sweat for something that you're going to be on. It was a father that wanted to teach his own child a message. You know, he was a rich father. He had a lot of money. And he realized that his son is going to a bad way, spending his money every day, become a spoiled child. So the father said, I'm going to teach my child. He came into his child and said, my dear son, leave the house. By the way, for the one that still live in the houses of the parents, you have to remember that from the age of 6, according to Halakha, your father can tell you, find the way out. Every day that you live and you are in your house, your father is making charity with you. You know these guys that come in to collect money? Exactly at the same levels. Halakha-wise, and your father can tell you, 6 years old, take your package and leave the house. So our parents is doing charity with us every day that we are there. Amazing. So the father told the child, leave the house. You want to stay here, no problem. You have to sweat. Go and work and pay, and give me $100 to $200. So the mother saw it. You know, a mother, a good nature of a woman, is always merciful heart. She gave the child in the morning $200. She said, don't worry. Go outside, play like, you know, put some sand on yourself. Before you come in, jump into the sand and come like you walk. He came back. He gave the father the money. You know what the father said? Not enough that you are spoiled, you are shakran, you are aligned. He ripped the money away. The son doesn't know what to do. Come back to his mother and say, Ima, Abba catch me. She said, don't worry. Tomorrow I'm going to give you $1,000. For $1,000 your father will never say no. He came at night. He said, Abba, this time I find a better job. $1,000. The father said, not enough that you are spoiled. You are a liar. He ripped the $1,000. The guy said, what's going on with my father? He came to the mother. He said, Ima, Abba is a prophet. He can see everything. The mother said, you know what, my son? Tomorrow, go and find a job. Go and sweat. He went and he sweat for 14 hours. He came back. He gave his father $150. He said, Abba, this is my money. So the father said, yes. Again you lying to me? He was about to rip the money. He said, Abba, please, do not rip the money. He came to him and he kissed him. He said, my son, now I know that you work for the money. You know how I know? For the first 2 days, it's not because I'm prophet. Easy come, easy go. You never sweat because of that. You never care that I rip the money. Today that you fight with your money. You see, the wisest man in the world history said, listen to that. After Kimeni, Amdali. You know which Torah Shlomo HaMelech remember? The Torah that is sweat. It's sweat. Something that you sweat, you own. You see here in BJCC, Youth Minyan, 3rd floor, the place to be. We start in the summer, Chavruta program in Shabbat. From 5:30 to 6:30, we have Kol Torah in the 3rd floor. Beautiful, amazing. You come, you enjoy it. And I told them, this is the best hour that you're going to have. You know why? Because for the whole week, the only one that sweats is the rabbi. I'm here to sweat to make the shiur. So easy come, easy go. You're going to leave the room. I don't know how much you're going to remember from the speech. Not my speech and not Rabbi Nissan. As much that he's going to make amazing speech because he's the one that lived the speech. He's the one that sweat. You are like, you know, you remember when you used to be a little child, when your mother came to you, Aviron, you remember this Aviron? The airplane? When she put the food in your mouth, and all what you had to do is to open your mouth, you open your mouth, you never sweat for this food. The Torah that you're getting when you're coming into classes is amazing. I'm looking forward to see you every Monday. But even greater, every Shabbat. You know why? Because in Shabbat I don't deliver the speech. You have to own it. You have to sweat for it. Chavruta program meaning 2 to 3 guys that sitting down and learning. Be'af, yagata or matzata. When you sweat for something, you will never lose it. It's going to be yours forever. Something that you suffer for. This is what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said. He told his father-in-law, my dear Amak, when you see me suffering, the only reason that I achieved the level of Rabbi Shimon is because I'm suffering, because I sweat. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a few days ago that I saw a whole lectures of Rabbi Rubashkin. And two points that I took from these lectures is a beautiful points that I believe that can change our life. The first point is, Rabbi Rubashkin used to get a lot of mail. You know, USPS, FedEx, UPS. I call these lectures Faith and Trust, UPS. Now you understand why. Yaakov used to get in the jail a lot of mails. He used to get mails. Now, the only problem is that some of the people in the jail, all the prisoners, start to jealous. Why? Every day he got 50 to 100 mails. What's going on with this guy? Now, Rabbi Rubashkin said, I never understand why they're jealous. It was in purpose. Every yeshiva had different days to send mails to Rabbi Rubashkin in order to uplift the spirit. So thousands of Jews decide. He got maybe over 1 million letters throughout his times. You know how many Jews send them letters? Rabbi Rubashkin, we're praying for you. We put tzedakah, we put tefillin. Every Jew came in, they felt belong. He got so many letters, and all the goyim, all the prisoners were jealous. And Rabbi Rubashkin said, I don't understand. Why are you jealous? First of all, it's not your man. Second, if I'm not going to be here, the men will never arrive. I don't understand what's that. Number three, you don't even know how to read, not Hebrew and not Yiddish. Most of the men came either in Hebrew or either in Ashkenaz yeshivot. So why are you jealous? And when he left the jail, he said, came to my mind, that it was a message from God to our life. You see, when we have faith and trust, many times we're jealous from the wife of somebody, from the house of somebody, from the car of somebody, from the job of somebody. So why are you jealous? It's not your man. God gave him this wife because he's man. This is his man. His house, this is his man. It's not for you. You will never be able to read it. This is not your mission in life. Sfirat HaOmer is to remind each one of us. Each one of us have their own target and mission in life. How beautiful is to remember. What a great message. Each one of us have different men to receive. This is one message when Rabbi Rubashkin shared. The second message is, Rabbi Rubashkin said like that, when it was 8 years and 7 days, Aleph Tevet, and Aleph Tevet, he got a mail, not such a happy mail. What did the mail said? The mail said, Rabbi Rubashkin, the last appeal that you have, you know, you have a certain amount of appeal that you can make in a courthouse. Supreme Court, whatever, Washington, he had all the connections, he made appeals right and left, trying to get out, trying to bail out from the jail. That letter came to him and said, the last appeal that you made, dismissed. Meaning, you cannot make any more appeals. Meaning, you're going to be here for the next of 17 years. Wow. Imagine yourself, God forbid, a doctor is coming to a human being and said, you have 24 hours to be alive. Now, you know, we all trust the doctors. Ladies and gentlemen, the Gemara said, Atov shebarufim legehinam. The best doctors go into Gehinam. Ask me why the best doctors? Usually the best doctors, they are good doctors, personality-wise. Usually the best doctors, they are doctors that come into you, they are brain doctor, brain surgery, heart surgery. Why are they going to go to Gehinam? And listen to the answer of the Ritva. The Ritva answered this way. The job of a doctor is to heal you, is to make you healthy, not to take away your faith in the Almighty God, not to take the hope of people. Many doctors coming in and they forget their jobs. ורפו ירפא מכאן שניתנה הרשות לרופא לרפות. We have a pasuk in the Torah that said that is kind of, not obligation, reclamation, that a person is supposed to go to doctors, 100%. The same way that a person is supposed to do effort, meaning to wake up in the morning and to go to business. יברכך השם בכל אשר תעשה. God will bless you with everything that you do. If you have to go to the court, go to the court. If you need a lawyer, hire a lawyer. If you need a doctor, go to the doctor. So what is so bad? The answer is, listen, you have to make the effort. But what exactly happens when there's no effort? When the lawyer, when your own lawyer, I mean, how do you say it? Is mitpater? Resign. When your own lawyer resigned, when your own lawyer left, you know what's the meaning? The meaning that the case is closed. When your own lawyer asks you, I don't want to continue with this, represent you, what exactly are you going to do? When the doctor tells you that you have 24 hours, when they come to you and they give you a letter, and they tell you, listen, you made a beautiful, beautiful effort, but we have a bad news. The bad news is that you're going to stay here for the next 17 years. What exactly you do in this case? What is the secret when you got fire and there's no hope? You realize that there's no hope, there's no other hope. Came Rabbi Rubashkin and said, a chidush. explanation that he had in that moment. Beautiful explanation. He said, came to my mind explanation in one of the psukim that we said so many times. Ashlech al Hashem yavcha vehu yechalkelecha. You know what's the meaning? Throw your faith in the Almighty God and God will save you. Throw yourself to the Almighty God and God will save you. But how can God save me? If the doctor told me like that, if the lawyer told me, if the business is crashing down, how exactly? Rabbi, I cannot make even a vessel. I don't have any place to make vessel. And the answer is, Vehu yechalkelecha. God will make the vessel for you. If you realize that you're in a bumpy place, in a place that you cannot make vessel, in a place that you cannot make vessel, then you know who's going to make the vessel for you? The Almighty God. This is the best stage. The best stage that you can do is when a stage that you have no vessel. Because then God has to make you a vessel. I will explain. It was one rabbi that came in to a person that needs Yeshua. He needs miracles. And the rabbi came to him and said, listen, if you're going to give me $50,000, I will make miracles in your life. Now, other people was in the room, and they right away ask, Rabbi, how, in their mind, why the rabbi asking money? Why they asking so much money? You see, every time you go to rabbi, it's always about money. They came out, and the rabbi kept quiet. The guy went and gave them the $50,000. 2 years later, he became the richest guy in the community. So they asked the rabbi, what exactly is the sense? What's the connection? He said, very simple. As long as he had the 50,000, he didn't trust God. He trusted the money. When I took the last money that he had, then the only direction is the Almighty God. And when you have a faith in the Almighty God, you're going to see such miracles. When the only one that you believe is not the rabbis, even though that they are amazing shlichim, it's not the people, it's not the doctors, it's not the lawyers, then God will never let you down. You hear that? When you have no faith, you see, we have money in the bank account, we have a house, we have protection here, protection there, we have plan A, plan B, plan C. This is the problem. You have so many plans, but you forget that the only plan that can work is having a faith in the Almighty God. This rabbi said, I have to take the plane from this person. I will take everything from him until that the only way that he can scream is to God. When he was screaming to God, Rabbi Buna Mefashizcha said like that, מי שאין לו ממה לחיות, יודע אני ממה הוא חי. ומי שיש לו ממה לחיות, אני לא יודע ממה הוא חי. Rabbi Buna Mefashizcha said, anyone that have nothing to live, meaning he have no hope, I know that he's going to have a long and healthy life. You know why? Because the only hope that he have is the Almighty God. And then you know that having a faith in God will make it. But anyone that believe in the doctors, in the lawyers, in the connections, then I have a questions. How long is going to be a life? We have to believe in Hashem Yitbarach. Emunah and Bitachon is to remember that God is the only one that can make miracles. And I will leave you with one note. You know, when a person is getting sick, כותב, סמ"ק, ספר מצוות קטן, in his introduction, he's given many reasons and explanation on the mitzvot. And in his introduction he writes like that, שכל פגם שיש לאדם, every time you have one of the part of the body, one of the איברים is limbs. You have a pain in one of your limbs. No, in the livers, in the heart, in the kidneys, in the legs, in the hand. Come ספר מצוות קטנות and write. You know why? Because that limb have a certain mitzvah. How many limbs we have? 248. How many mitzvot we have? Positive mitzvot. 240. Do you think that this is coincidence? This is not coincidence. This is not a coincidence. 248 is exactly the Shema Yisrael. You see why it's important to wait till the Chazan said, Hashem Elokechem Emet? Why is it important to wait for him? Because until there, if you're going to count the word, you know how many words is that? 245. When he says Hashem Elokechem Emet, we have 248. So if you want to have your body complete, it's good to be very careful to come to the morning minyan or to the night minyan and to hear the chazan. Why? You're making yourself secure in that day that your body is going to work perfect. It's not a coincidence. So come, Sefer HaMitzvot, and write. If your hand is not working, if something, your hand start to move like that, or you start to be shaky, or suddenly you feel your heart. I remember one time I was driving in Florida, and then I feel my heart. You know how scary is that? I remember, I'm laughing, and the second you understand why I'm laughing. I'm thinking, and right away, you have this thought, wow, maybe God forbid, right away all the scary thought. And then I'm continuing to drive, and then again, so, wow. Suddenly, from being frightened, vision become narrow. You don't see nothing. I stop right away when I'm driving. And I said, maybe because I didn't. And that time I went in to give lectures, Daytona, Orlando, Clearwater, and Miami. It was back to back. So maybe I said, because I didn't sleep 17 hours direct, and I gave lectures back to back, maybe because of that. And I start to give reasons. I need to sleep. I need here. And then what did I realize? My phone. It was in the shoe. I put it in vibrate. I said, thank God. From that moment, I put my phone here. I'm trying to avoid. If you hear the voice of your heart, if you hear the voice of your kidney, if you hear the voice of your liver, if you hear the voice of your leg, it's not the leg is talking. The mitzvah that you didn't do. That bones, that limb is screaming, please do mitzvah. Because the only way that I'm going to be alive is if you're going to do this mitzvah. So which mitzvah? Now I'm going to tell you the 248 mitzvot, and what's the connections? It's going to take not one class. It's going to take maybe 20 to 30 classes. How do you know which mitzvah belongs to which one? So I'm going to tell you 3 mitzvot. That if you keep 3 of them, you secure 100%. Because these 3 mitzvot is the only mitzvot that they said, Shakul keneged kol haTorah kula. Meaning, if you put the whole 248 mitzvot, each mitzvah equal like you fulfilled the 348 mitzvot. Do you know by any chance which mitzvah is that? Dr. Daniel, do you know which mitzvah considered to be 240? I'm giving you a business opportunity. Secret of business. You don't have to work so hard if you're going to put money in this tax. That tax is the best. This is inside information. Only in BJCC. You can come to hear the secrets. So what's the secret, Rabbi? What's the secret? Do you know which mitzvah? Can you figure out which one? Yes. Continue. Which one? Kibud Avayim. Beautiful. Beautiful. What else? I love it. Tzitzit. Beautiful. The only one that they said, yes, tzitzit considered, but they said shakul. Shakul is only 3 mitzvot that the word shakul equal to them. Tefillin and tzitzit you say right, but it doesn't say the word shakul. Shabbat. Keeping Shabbat. If you keep Shabbat, consider to be, the bones will never scream anymore. None of your limb will scream, alone, we need help. Help. There's no help. Because they're going to work until 120. They're going to work keeping Shabbat. Why Shabbat? Because Shabbat is faith. Shabbat is the only proof, one of the only proofs that you believe completely in the Almighty God is keeping Shabbat. You see, put your money where your mouth is. How nice is to say, to go outside and say, Rabbi, I believe in God, Baruch Hashem, we're kissing the mezuzah, Shema, 5 minutes, suddenly we become Rabbi Shimon, Shema, and you see people moving, moving there, beautiful, amazing. But do you really believe in God? Can you keep Shabbat? Can you close the business on Shabbat? Can you lose money, so to speak? Nobody ever lose. But can you lose money? Tell a barber, a person that works in a haircut, don't work in Shabbat. Rabbi, I love you dearly. Let's stay friends from far. Don't tell me what to do. Rabbi, you need your salary. I'm one of the sponsors in the synagogues. You're going to keep quiet, and I'm going to keep quiet. My life is going to be much amazing. No. We never keep quiet. Our job is not to tell you what you want to hear. Our job is to tell you what you need to hear. And this is what you need to hear. You need to hear that keeping Shabbat is keeping 248 mitzvot. You want not that you will never see doctors? That we come to you, God forbid, will tell you 24 hours, 48 hours, 12 hours, like a clock? Remember, keeping Shabbat. Shabbat is proof that we believe in God. Second mitzvah is tzedakah, charity. והאמין בשם ויחשב לו לצדקה. When you give in charity, you know how difficult it is to give 10% of your money? You know how difficult? It's easy when you make $100 to give $10. But if you make $100,000 every year, to give 10,000, suddenly your hand is moving, you become sweat. Good enough, 2,000 is good enough. Why I need to give you 10,000? What? You see, if you make $1 million, the richer that you become, the hardest that you become. We believe when we make small money, Rabbi, you know, the richest can give. It's easy for them to give charity. And I tell you all different, just opposite. And your stage is easy to give charity. Because your charity is $10, $100, $1,000. Amazing. Amazing. But their charity is $100,000. It's difficult. Charity is faith. Giving 10%, 20% is proving to the Almighty God, Hashem, I believe. You know why you're proving that? Because you don't give it when you feel like. 10% is obligation, meaning every month is like a partner. You cannot come to your partner and say, today I'm in a good mood. No. Every month you give this money completely, consistent. Dr. Daniel, this is considered to be a partner of God. Faith. Shabbat is faith. Charity is faith. And the last one is Brit Milah. Brit Milah is faith. Brit Milah, we're making a Brit in our body. We're making a sign and seal that we believe in God. Not only to make Brit Milah, to keep the Brit is even harder. To keep the Brit Kadosh. When a person keeps his Brit, the Almighty God mentioned His names. The Gemara said, I believe, that any single guy that live in Manhattan, even in Queens, but live in Manhattan, in the Soho, in Gehenna, you know what is Gehenna? The Soho. Any single guy that live in Bua Bua, Cancun, in between Gehenna, and doesn't make a sin, the Almighty God bless him every day. God mentioned His names. Every day you hold yourself and you don't do any sin in the Brit Kodesh, consider to be that you kept the whole Torah or mitzvot. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in a class of faith and trust. Remember that, yes, we have the obligation to go to doctors, to go to lawyers, to have connections, to wake up in the morning and work. But the best moment in your life is when you have no other options except God. אשליך לשם יהבך. Throw yourself to the Almighty God. והוא יכלכלך. And the Almighty God will make the vessel. The vessel that God made to Rubashkin is the President himself. Day after, you remember the letter that Rubashkin got? Day after, the same police guy came to him and said, Rubashkin, Mr. Rubashkin, dismissed. Your job is to go out. Get out of here. He thought, get out of here, I'm going to go to different jails. He already passed 7 jails. Get out of here, I'm going to go from one room to another room. No. He said, your job is out. One day after, he got that letter that he said, you're going to be here for another 17 years. You know why? Because in that day, the only one that he trusts is the Almighty God. Until they believe, maybe lawyers, maybe this one, maybe connections. He had 24 hours that he was dancing and smiling and praying to Hashem and said, God, you are the only one that can save me. You're going into hospital? You have to remember that the limbs, our bones, our body scream, please do mitzvah. Do mitzvah that will give me life. The same way that food sustains our body. And that one we do very well. Food, nobody have to convince you to eat. You eat anything that moves. That one we doing amazing. We don't need to convince you, please, beg. We have to convince you not to eat. You know, enough is enough. We become, in our generation, food processor. That food was never a problem. But the soul of the bones, the soul of the vein also scream, please, do the mitzvah. Which mitzvah? I will tell you. Shabbat. tzedakah in Brit Milah. Ladies and gentlemen, with no further ado, I want to invite a person by the name Rabbi Nissan. His name is Nissan, Milashon Nisim, that saw miracles in his life and made so many people to inspire and get closer to Hashem. And his way of smile, I remember the years that he used to come here and we used to look for it, and I was always upset with him why he doesn't come every year. You remember Rabbi Nissan? I always used to call him, Rabbi Nissan, we paid the ticket, just come. We love you, the community love you so much. You are a blessing in this place. But now, Rabbi Nissan, like I said, his name fit them very well. The name of a person fit the person. Came here to share with us his own miracles life and to inspire all of us how that each one of us can get his own miracles. Hopefully the Almighty God will bless the sponsor of tonight, that they are anonymous, they don't want to be mentioned, that God will give them a long life. Let us say amen. A happy life. Let us say amen. May God will give them shalom bayit amiti. Let us say amen. May God will give them banim zecharim. Let us say amen. May God will give them, and all of us, Mashiach tzidkenu b'meirat amen v'nomar amen. Thank you very much.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
It's okay? Go on. Yeah.
יפה. תודה. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, why are you up there, you know?
Sure. Like the real Matrix.
Sure. All right, we get 10 seconds.
Wow. Shabbat, tzedakah, Brit Milah. Shalom Aleichem. You can hear me okay?
Yes.
First of all, I want to say thank you to everybody that came. It's so nice to see you guys. You can't even imagine how well. Rabbi, I want to thank you also for hosting all of this, and the leaders of our community for giving us. Raphael Yaubov, who was supposed to be in his house for a few guys. I don't know what happened, but it spread. They wanted to, people wanted to come. Friends, relatives, thank you all for coming, to Tamara, to Tinina, Katie, Jack, Artur, Ruben, Shmuel Yusuf of Nigina. There's so many people to mention. Moshe Ilyich. Thank you all for coming. I know you brought your friends. For those of you that are here, that you came, you probably heard what happened. So there was a lot of questions that people were asking. They were, it was just, I don't even know how to explain the whole experience. You wake up one day and you find out you have leukemia. It's very scary. And I know a lot of you are asking, what was it like when you first found out that you had leukemia? Well, at first I was afraid. I was petrified. I kept thinking I could never live with this thing by my side. And I spent so many nights. Oh, you got the joke. Okay. Yes, you got it. Great. Yes, there was a time where I was doing comedy. You remember that? Yes, it was great mitzvah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Nothing is greater from giving the Jewish nation to smile. We have so much suffering in this world. To have people to smile.
No.
What you did, I was waiting for the whole year.
Thank you.
For people like you to give these people a smile, to give us a smile, to wake up and to say, wow, one Jew can come here and inspire the whole community.
Thank you.
He will promise to smile tonight too.
100%. 100%.
I want to tell you guys the story. You're probably wondering how did it come to this? Why was I involved in the community? See, about 22 years ago, I was very, very fortunate by Hashem himself. He just picked me up and put me in Yerushalayim. I saw Steven Spielberg make Schindler's List on TV back then, giving an interview. And they asked him, they said, why are you making a Holocaust movie? It's not your style. And he said, he goes, I'm a proud Jew. I'm very proud to be Jewish. So they said, but you don't make Holocaust movies. And he goes, no, I'm a proud Jew. I'm very happy to be Jewish. And he mentioned an organization called Eish HaTorah. And I wrote it down. And he goes, and after that, he said, I changed. So I called them up and I said, what did you do to Steven Spielberg? And they said, why don't you come to one of our seminars and we'll show you. And I went and I was completely blown away. They show you math. Yeah, you've seen it, the Discovery Seminar? Some of you have seen it? Absolutely mind-blowing. They show you science, they show you Torah, identical. They show you math, they show you Torah, identical. And then at the end of the seminar, they came to me with a video camera and they said, so what questions do you have now? And that clip was on their video. And they were telling us, write down how you feel. You're probably so inspired. I didn't even have to write it down because that clip of me was there. And they had like the whole world shining behind me. You've seen that video. The next thing I know, they're like, how would you like to come and learn Torah in Jerusalem? And I said, how much is it? We have a sponsor. Just come. Just like that. So I knew that God was just, showing me something. So they took us to Auschwitz first for a week. Right? And it said, Arbeit macht frei, it means work makes free. The B was upside down. They were trying to hint that it's really the opposite. I don't know if you saw this picture now. It says Aravit. They changed it. Aravit macht frei. But anyway, from there, one of the most amazing moments was in the end, we're standing in Auschwitz. You can still smell all the burning. And the rabbi that was there, the sun is coming down. We're praying Aravit, and he's like, we have to face towards Yerushalayim. And then he goes, and by the way, we're going to be there tomorrow. And we were. And when I woke up the next morning in Yerushalayim, I can't even describe to you what it was. It was like coming home. It was like, this is what was in my heart the entire time, since I was a kid. You're looking for something, you don't know what it is, and then when you're there, I was like shocked. People are throwing things on the garbage, and I was, what are you doing? And they're like, it's going to wear off. And I said, it's not going to wear off. And Baruch Hashem, if you ever go to the Kotel, if you ever come to Israel, please give me a call. We'll spend the whole day together. There's such beautiful places there. But if you turn around from the Kotel, the Eish HaTorah is like 40% of all the yeshivas there. It's huge. So I had the privilege of meeting Rabbi Noach Weinberg. I met with him, I studied with him, and on the last day I said, make room for me, this is my home. And then he goes, no. He goes, you're on a high right now. He goes, it's going to wear off. He goes, go back to Queens, go back to New York. He goes, why don't you volunteer a little bit in your community? And I'm like, my community? We're Bukharian. And he goes, you think the rest of the world is easier? Go home, he goes, get married, have a few kids, then you can come back. So I went, Baruch Hashem. Right before I left, I asked him for a bracha. I said, can you give me a bracha? It's okay. And he says to me, he goes, don't ask me for a bracha. He says, ask your mother for a bracha. And I said, my mother, she's not religious. And he goes, yeah, but I don't love you as much as she does. That was Rav Noach Weinberg. So, come back. Yeah, I have so many stories to tell you. There's just not enough time. But I started volunteering in the community. And I started making jokes in the community. To Garba. And then the next thing I know, I was teaching in Torah College. I was teaching math. Then I was teaching computers. And one of my students was a professional stand-up comedian. And he goes, I could use you in one of my shows. And I got so excited that when I did that show in Manhattan, it was like an 8-minute presentation. It went extremely well. It went so well that when I came home, I had such a smile on my face that they wanted me to audition for Saturday Night Live. Wow. Like a week from that moment. And my wife, Siggy was against it. She's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, listen. Ain't nothing going to stop me from auditioning from Saturday Night Live. Nothing. And she goes to me, hello, what if Rabbi Noach Weinberg told you not to do it? I said, listen, he's in Jerusalem, we're here, I hardly see him. It's not going to happen. Forget about it. And I'm walking around on cloud 9. Wednesday night, I get a phone call from Eshet Torah. Hi, how you doing? They wanted a donation. We used to donate to them. And how is Rabbi Noach Weinberg? And they're like, well, he's in Brooklyn. I said, really? Give me his number. I want to see him. So I'm thinking he's so open-minded that he's going to take my side. And I called my wife and I go, you'll never believe who's in town. So we went to see him. We sat down and I said, listen, you told me, get married, have a few kids. We had 2 kids back then. We had Gabi and Leo. And then I said, and he goes, so what are you doing with yourself now? I go, I'm going to audition for Saturday Night Live on Monday. And he goes, oh. And I said, I'm telling myself, there's no way he's going to talk me out of it. There's no way. I know all his tricks. Ain't going to work. So then he goes, because I don't think you should do it. And I go, why not? And he goes, you have a risk of losing your family. No, I go, come on, I came out of age, I know what I want, I know what my goals are, I want to live in Eretz Yisrael one day. It's not going to affect me, don't worry, I told him, I'll be one of the exceptions. And he goes, but there's a chance you could lose your family like this. He goes, you're going to be around some very not-to-do people. And I said, don't worry, I got it covered. And then he goes like this, I give you 2 pizzas. Yeah. He goes, one of them has rat poison and one of them doesn't. I go, okay. And he goes, I'm going to mix them up. Take one. Would you take one? And I'm like, no. And he goes, good, you answered your own question. And I went, no. And my wife was like, see? I told her, oh my gosh. You know what they say. When you get married, your mother becomes your mother-in-law. Your father becomes your father-in-law. Your sister becomes your sister-in-law. And your wife, she is the law. She is the law. Amazing. Suma Sati. I tell all the Bukharan people, there's something greater than amazing savings. Something more amazing. So, with time, I'm skipping a lot of stuff. I'm trying to get to... You'll see why I'm telling you all of this. We did a show with Shmuel Yusupov. He's here. We called it Comic Relief. For, if you remember, for those of you, in Forest Hills High School, we did a comedy show for his synagogue. He was opening up a shul. All the money that we raised, we gave it to Rabbi Akilov. There was like 1,000 people there in Forest Hills High School. We had like 3 comedians there. We donated the whole thing, and you know, people told me, they're like, you're crazy. What are you doing? And I said, listen, it says in Pirkei Avot, pay to learn, you teach for free. That's it. There's nothing to negotiate. There's no whatever it is. So with time, Rav Weinberg, he passed on, Aval Shalom. And then we finally made Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael, and his son was the Rosh Yeshiva in Eshet Torah. And I came to him, and I said, I sat right in this seat, and your father told me, come back when you get married, when you have kids. And I said, here I am. I'm back. Nothing changed. My high didn't go away, I said. I'm still fired up. And I said, here's the wife, here's the kid. Make room for me, I'm staying. And he goes, you know what? He goes, I accept you. You know, like that was the day I was waiting for. So I started working over there in Hebrew University in a high-tech lab. We were doing some amazing technological work. We're working on a sensor inside a car, and we could calculate the heart rate variability right before you fall asleep, like 1 minute before, so the car can detect your heart rate, your pulse, everything. And we were doing experiments in a car seat, and it was going extremely well. Then we were working on alcohol detection. Like you sit in the car will detect the alcohol level, and it won't start until you're in the passenger seat. So we were like, you know, we're going to save tons of lives. It was so inspiring. It's probably the best job I ever had. And then one day I come to work. I'm taking these pulse rates. And all of a sudden my heart rate was like 62, 58, 56. All of a sudden it's 95, 110, 120. And they were like, you know, they're like, Nissan, you're getting old. So I started working out harder, you know, and doing like these insane push-ups with the on a slant, heart beating 140, it's not stopping. And then they were like, you know, go to a doctor, go check yourself. And I'm like, no, prойдет. It's nothing, don't worry. And like that, they kept saying, you know, something is wrong. Go see a doctor, go see a doctor. I wouldn't go see a doctor. And then, Baruch Hashem, this is how you see God running the whole thing from the beginning. An investor came in to invest in this technology. She was a doctor. And I was all the way in the back, didn't talk to her, didn't look at her, nothing. And she goes, young man, come here. She's from California. And she goes, show me your hands. They were like yellow. She goes, you know, your ears are white. She goes, something is not right with you. And I go, I'm having heartbeats. Maybe I have arrhythmia or something. Tachycardia. And she's like, no. She checked my pulse. She's like, it's not your heart. She goes, I think it's your liver. I think you have jaundice, желтуха, something like that. That was Thursday. Sunday, I finally went to see my doctor. She looked at me and she's like, go to the emergency room. And I go, why? And she goes, if I take your blood test, it'll take a few days. She goes, they'll just do it quicker, that's all. She didn't want to scare me. She knew something was very wrong. So I went to the emergency room. They checked me out. They come back and they're like, normal hemoglobin is between 13 to 16. They're like, yours is 6. Where's all the blood going? Do you have any bleeding? Do you have any stool that's a different color? And I said, no. So they checked the stool. And they said, there's no internal bleeding. Then they took another blood test, and then the specialist comes in, and he goes, you know you have leukemia. And I didn't believe it. I said, it's impossible. I'm vegan. I eat wheatgrass. It can't be. My body is very alkalized. He's like, you have leukemia. Siggy was there. She was shocked. We didn't know what to do. And the thing is, when you hear things like this, your first reaction is, I need to get a second opinion. You're wrong. You're not American doctors. You know. And he's like, listen. He goes, we have one of the best facilities in the world. He goes, I'm a specialist in this. He goes, it's 100%. So he took a bone marrow test, and it was confirmed. And it was like the worst leukemia, acute myeloid leukemia, AML, very, very serious. For those of you that don't know, it's the white blood cells, they multiply rapidly, and then they start to mutate, and they're called blasts. Like if you have regular red blood cells, these white blood cells they're much bigger, and they travel all over the body. It's very dangerous. It's not like cancer in one area of the body. It's all over. So they're telling me, they're like, you know, you don't do anything right now, you've got 2 weeks to go. They're like, your body is 70% infected. So we tried to go the alternative. We're like, you know, cancer can be treated today. People have been healed. And then, you know, you look at these alternative places, and they all said the same thing. They said, we can treat any cancer except leukemia, because there's no stages in leukemia. We found the Gerson therapy in Mexico. Same thing on their website. It says, we treat all cancers except leukemia. Then we found some Italian doctor in Italy, Dr. Simoncini, I forgot his name. We spoke to him on video, and then I said, can you give me a phone number of a person you healed? And he's like, no, I don't have anybody. That bothered me. Then we found some other people in Israel. They said, we've treated people, you have to eat the bone marrow of beef, like this. And I said, can I speak to the guy that you healed? And he goes, well, he passed away. And he goes, because he came to me too late. He goes, it was his own fault. And like that, one after the other, one after the other. We didn't know what to do. What do you do? People are telling me, you take chemotherapy, they're going to fry you. My father passed away from cancer. I remember what happened with the chemotherapy. I knew people that had leukemia from 20 years back, 10 years back. They didn't make it. It was very, very difficult. I didn't know what to do. And I'm telling all of you, there's a chain of command. You always go to the top people. Who is the number one of the Gadol Hador in Israel? Harav Kanevsky. We got a message to him. We said, we don't know what to do. What do we do? And he said, with leukemia, the only way out is chemotherapy. There is no other way. So to me, it was like, God is really putting me through something very scary. And I said, okay, If the Rav Kanievsky said that, then that's it. So I came, and I want you guys to all know this. I'm a very big advocate of eating correctly. In my world, it's either God made the food or it's artificial. There's no in between. Anything that's artificial, like that cola on that table, will kill you. It's just slow death. The people that make that soda, they don't drink it. They give it to us, the consumer, as they call us. So the doctor sat down on my bed, and he goes, he goes, it's very late in the game. He goes, you could die tomorrow. He goes, if the blasts get stuck in one of your veins in your brain, you'll get a stroke. If the blasts stop in another part of your body, you'll get a hemorrhage, you'll collapse, it's over. That's it. And every day they kept coming. You're going to die tomorrow. You're going to die tomorrow. You're going to die today. You're going to die tomorrow. There was no time. Now, we didn't know how to tell the children this. We didn't know how to tell my mother this. My mother was she was in America. So we don't know what to do. And then finally they came with the first round of chemo. It's called induction. It's a very, very aggressive form of chemo. The doctor sat down. This is what you should take to heart. And he tells me, now we're going to see what you did all your life, what you ate, what you were doing when you were younger. He goes, it's all going to come out now. So they gave me round 1 of chemo, and I had 14% leukemia left in the blood. And the thing is, they give it to you. What they do in Israel is, it's called a peak line. They put a needle in your arm into a central vein, and the chemotherapy drips for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 2 forms of liquids. They had to come with these, space suits, because if it falls, it's extremely toxic. It kills everything, cancer cells and healthy cells. It completely wipes you out. Then they give you 3 weeks to recover, and then they do it again. And the thing is, I don't know if most of you know this, but you know what the bone marrow does? I didn't know this either. The bone marrow is responsible for creating blood. It creates the immune system to fight off the germs, and it creates what's called platelets. Platelets they help you heal when you get a cut. So it wasn't working right, and my hemoglobin just kept dropping from 6 to 5.5 to 5.2, then it was at 5, and I was completely wiped out. No strength, no energy, nothing. So then the whole team comes back in, and they're like, we have to give you a stronger dose of chemo. It's called Salvage Chemo. It's very strong stuff, for those of you that heard it. And I'm like, wait, I didn't even go through the 3 weeks yet to recover. Kuda. And they're like, we have to do it. So they gave me round 2 of chemo. After that, you're completely wiped out. And there was still 14% leukemia in my bone marrow. My blood was clean. And then this is where all the drama started. They came to me, the doctors, and they said, the only thing that can save you, that you may have a chance to survive this, you have a 40% chance. Said if there's any trace of leukemia in the bone marrow, it'll just multiply again, the whole thing will start again, and your body can only handle a certain amount of chemo, and that's all we can do. Call your brother or sister, you need a bone marrow donor. Now for those of you that don't know me, I'm the only child. And they said, getting leukemia is rare enough. To get leukemia as the only child, they said, is extremely rare. And they're like, we don't know what to tell you. You need to prepare your family already. You have to think about graves. You have to tell your children's teachers what's going on. We have to tell them. They took the news really badly, especially my Leah. She's very sensitive. She's 17 now. She was crying her eyes. Oh my gosh. I don't even remember that. Wow. It was really too much. It was too much. Then I had to tell my mom, because I didn't want her to hear from other people. I had to tell her exactly what was going on. And again, it was just brutal. Now, when you're sitting there in the hospital, you have no immune system. They're pumping me up with antibiotics. You have hardly any blood. They had to give me 2 packs of blood a day just to keep me at hemoglobin 7, 8, and the next day it would drop again. And I had no platelets, so they put me in an isolated room, like a plastic bubble, and they said, you know, don't even walk around. If you fall and you get internal bleeding, we can't fix it. You're going to die. So I was completely confined, sealed like this. And I'm thinking to myself, every single time in my life, and I'm sure you've had these experiences, all of you here, right? You've all prayed to God from your heart. When you got so inspired, bombs could go off. You knew there was a God. Can you raise your hand? Just let me know. Am I right? You've had these experiences? Now tell me this. Has God ever answered your prayer when you had these moments at least once in your life? Everybody? Is there anybody who didn't? Not one hand went up, right? I knew it. We've all had these experiences. You know, God gave me so many times, like you heard the story of Rav Weinberg, put me in Yerushalayim, took me out of Saturday Night Live. I knew who was running the show. And yet, there were times in my life where I just brushed it off as, you know, okay, it happened that way. It was a coincidence. Telling myself this. And here I thought, I was the only child. I got tons of love, tons of attention, tons of everything. And now me being the only child is like, it's like God taking back what He gave me. And I thought He was really upset at me. And it was very shocking. So then the entire community, all of you guys got together. I heard the stories about how people took things upon themselves. Communities from Miami, Arizona, Colorado, San Diego, Austria, Miami, Florida. It was unbelievable. All the tefillot, people were writing to me, people were calling me, texting me, we were video chatting each other. I was so moved, I'm telling you, when you go and visit a sick person, you cannot believe how much it picks up a person's spirit. Incredible. I have to tell you that when you're sitting there in isolation, alone, it's enough to break anybody. When you have doctors coming to you, these Israeli doctors are very blunt. They're telling you, you're going to die. You're going to die today. You're going to die tomorrow. You're going to die. It's over. We prepared the kids, and your prayers, the things that you were doing, the care, the love that you sent out, it picked me up. That, you know, the secular Israelis, they saw like people were coming with music, playing music for me. You know, because all the Chagim, I was in the hospital from Rosh Hashanah, the chemotherapy started on Rosh Hashanah, and it just kept going all the way to Hanukkah. So the Hasidim came, they played songs, they cheered me up, Simchat Torah, we were singing songs, people would come with guitars, people would come in costumes to make me laugh. And the secular Israelis, they saw this. And they were like, you know, you religious people, they said, you're so, we see how good it is to be among the religious people. One woman even came, you know, and she was like, please come play for my husband too. They tried to cheer him up also, you know. So, it got passed down to me from Harav Kanievsky, his team, his group of people. They said, to unite all these prayers, they said, you have to pray for yourself. You have to also talk to God, pour your heart out, beg God, talk to God. The Shekinah is by your bed, by the pillow. And believe it or not, I had nothing to say. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't take anything upon myself. I couldn't, because I know you can't bribe God. When God has His cheshbon, that's it. You know, because I knew people that didn't make it, and they were great people, much more righteous than I was. So I had nothing to say. You know, like I tried, and I'm like, who am I fooling? Well, I'm going to fool God now. So I told God from all my heart. I don't know how this came out. I just said, I'm going to love you until my last breath. That's all I can give you, I said. Nothing is going to stop me from that. Nothing you decide, whatever you do, ain't going to happen.
The whole world praying for you.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. My gosh. Wow. Yeah. Jack is here. Jack came to visit me in the hospital. Jack, you don't know how happy I was. Jack, Borda came, Markel from Rabbi Derek's community, they came. They chipped in, they got me this Kangen water gift. We're so grateful to you guys. And Katie, our great-grandchildren are going to know about this. It's such an act of chesed. You don't know how much it uplifted us. They came, they said, don't worry, you're going to be okay. Then they told me that, there are other people there's so many problems in the community with cancer. You're not the only one, they told me. Like that. And my spirits were so lifted that at a certain point, I don't know where this came from, but if you read the book of Yaubov in the Tanakh, he basically says, God answers you not with human words when you pray. He answers you in dreams. It's in the book of Yaubov. So, one morning, I have this dream, crazy dream, that they found me 100% bone marrow donor. Now, if you know the story, they were telling me, we can't find you a 100% match because you're the only child that's going to be a stranger. And they said, if we get a 90% match, we'll take it. We don't know what country it's going to be from. They may come, we have to bring the person's bone marrow to Israel. We don't know if we have enough time. So I had a dream they found me 100% match. I remember the 100% was in white. And I woke up feeling so happy. So then a few days later, Siggy called me. Siggy's my wife. She calls me and she says, don't get excited. They found you 100% bone marrow donor. And I go, why can't I get excited? She goes, he may not agree. He may say no. Now, here's the best part. How did they find this bone marrow? It wasn't the Israeli doctors. They were looking in their own databases around the world. They said it's 1 out of 15 million that this can happen. What happened was Hashem heard all of your prayers, because it says if one angel out of 1,000 will request refuah, God will answer. He heard all your prayers, and your prayers got to an organization in Israel called Ezra Metzion. It's run by a bunch of Hasidim, brilliant people. They came. Zdrasti, Yash. Thank you so much for coming. No. It's an honor to see you, yes. Ezra Metzion, you know what they do? You want to see how brilliant our Hasidim are? Before anyone goes into the Israeli army, they have to go through Ezra Metzion and take a cotton swab of saliva, and they put it in a database. And like that, they have a whole record of every single person in the army, so that when a rare case like me comes along, right away they're ready for it. So Rav Chulak, who's the head of it, he came to my room in the hospital in Tel Shomer, and I was like, my God, Rav Chulak! And he goes, are you Nissan ben Luba? And I said, I am. And he goes, do you know how many people are praying for you? So your prayers, they helped a ton, thoroughly uplifting me. This is what we call unity. This is what we call brotherhood. This is what the rest of the world, they're jealous of this. They don't do these things. When Syrians get killed, Muslims don't get together and help them. They couldn't care less. So I can't even thank you enough for all of this. So they found the bone marrow donor. And the Israeli doctors, they walked in. When he finally agreed to do it, they walked in and they said, we heard they found you a bone marrow donor. And I'm like, yes. And they're like, we heard the guy is in Israel. Yes. He's a male. Because female, it doesn't work. And they're like, it's 100% match. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, do you realize that this is not normal? You're extremely lucky, they tell me. Now in the past, every single time that God revealed His hand, it's like, you can't even imagine how many times He's done it. I would just brush it off. No, okay, yeah, it happened. Thank God, that's it. Or I would say, yeah, it worked out this way. This time I didn't say that. I got up and I said, I am not lucky. I said, this is from God. Don't you see it? I said. And they didn't say anything. It was funny. There was an Arab nurse there. She was the one that said, she goes, I see. She goes, I see God is with you. Arab nurse. It's crazy. So gave me the bone marrow. Now, you're probably wondering, how do they give a bone marrow? Do they operate on the bone? Do they take a piece out and put it in here? No. In other countries, they take a huge needle, they stick it into the donor, they take out the bone marrow, and then they inject it into the recipient. Very dangerous, very painful. You can't really move. They don't do it like that in Israel. They're way ahead of the game. What they do is they take the blood from the donor, and it goes through a dialysis machine, and it collects the best stem cells. And then for about 5 hours, and then it goes back into the right arm, and the computer picks out the best cells. And then they came to me with a little pack like this, little pack of blood. So the whole team comes in. It was during Hanukkah on Rosh Chodesh, right when it started in the evening, Rosh Chodesh Tevet. They came in. The whole team walks in again with, and they're like, "Do you realize how lucky you are?" And I said, like, what happened now? So they're like, usually we collect 5-6 million stem cells. They're like, this guy gave you 9.5 million. And I said, but it makes sense, it's Hanukkah. They had 1 jar of oil, lasted 8 days. You got more than you imagine. I'm like, it's again, God showing you who's running the whole world, not you. It's God. God is right there showing you this. And they're like, wait, it gets better. And I'm like, okay. They said the quality of these cells from 1 to 10 is like 10 plus. They're superb. They're like, it's like at the prime of his life at 18. You're not an adult yet. It's the cleanest, purest stem cells that you can get. They're like, you're extremely fortunate. You're very, very lucky. So they put in my peak line, little pack of blood. 15 minutes later, they're like, that's it. I'm like, that's it? And they said, yeah, within about 2 weeks, they go, we don't know how it works, but the stem cells find their way into the bone marrow, and then they start sprouting like broccoli in the bones, and it starts working. That was painful. That was like, you feel the bones expanding with every heartbeat. They said it would be 2 days of like extreme pain. 1 day I could handle. The second day I had to take some morphine, and that was it. That's it. And then my blood started coming out normally. And then the doctors, they're like, listen, we have to take precautions. You could get an infection. You could get, your body could reject the bone marrow. And then they said maybe the new bone marrow can attack your body because it doesn't belong there for whatever reason. So my immune system started coming back. They said as soon as you get to 1,000, it's between 1,800 to 7,700. Said as soon as you get to 1,000, we'll let you go home. First day it was 80, it was at 0. Then it went to 80, then it went to 200, then it went to 500, then it went to 2,000, then it went to 4,000, then it went to 5,000. And I'm like, oh my God, 5,000? Immune system? They're like, yeah, you can go home. So I went home, and they said, we have to take a bone marrow test. We need to check if that leukemia is still there. So she said, we gave you a heavy dose of chemo, and we'll see if there's even a 1% portion of leukemia in the bone marrow, 1%. The whole thing can start again, and it could grow again, and it could grow out of proportion again. And then what happened was, they checked the bone marrow, and the doctor, you're going crazy. You don't know what to expect. So I had a second dream. The second dream was, I don't keep in touch with Rabbi Yitzchak Yeshua. I don't know where this came from. But in my second dream, right before the results of the bone marrow test, Rabbi Yeshua comes out of a horse and carriage in Central Park, and he starts dancing with me like a wild man. And then we fell into the water, and he covers me with his talit. So I wake up feeling so happy. I'm like, what a dream. Wow, I feel like dancing. So I called his son in Israel, and I'm like, explain this to me, interpret it, what does this mean? And he goes, Nissan. He goes, it means you're going to survive this, and Rabbi Yeshua is going to dance on all the weddings of your children. And I was like, wow, what a gift, wow, wow, wow. So I sit in front of the doctor, and the doctor tells me, he goes, usually if your body accepts 70% of the new bone marrow, 80%, 90%, that's great. And I'm like, I asked him the shortest Jewish question in the world. I said, no? And he said, your bone marrow is 100% accepted. Everything, because it was 100% DNA match. And they're like, there are no complications. Your body is not fighting it. Your organs are fine. There's no trace of leukemia. Your chromosomes are not damaged. Everything is fine. And then I guess some of you saw that video. We did a Sudal Daya. We were so happy. We were told, you need to publicize this miracle. So we did. And then I started going to the outpatient clinic. First I was going 3 times a week. Then they said everything is fine. They just kept discharging me. They didn't give me any magnesium. They didn't give me anything. Then it became twice a week. Then the doctor said, you can come once a week. They cut down my medication. And then 2 weeks ago, they took another bone marrow test. Now it's been 4 months since I got the bone marrow. And they said, 100% clean. 100% accepted. No leukemia. No trace of anything. Chromosomes are fine. You're fine. They're like, go home. That's it. They said my hemoglobin would never go past 10. My hemoglobin was at 11, then it was at 11.5, then it was at 12.5. Now it's like at 13, almost normal. Immune system, normal. Platelets, normal. What was the message? What was the mistake I made? I thought that God was taking back what he gave me. Me being the only child was going to work against me. I made a mistake. You know, there was a pasuk that I read in the Haftorah where it said, I will not return to destroy Ephraim, for I am God and not a man, the Holy One inside of you. And I keep reciting that to myself all the time, all the time. And if I tell you I did this, or I said that, or you should do this, or you should do that, I didn't do anything. There was nothing I could do. The only thing that I could do was I kept thinking, when in the Torah do they put a person in isolation? When do they do that? Tzarat? When a person speaks Lashon Hara, evil speech, and gossips? So I knew I was guilty of something. Why did it hit the blood? This is my own cheshbon, by the way. Blood? When is a person responsible for murder? When he speaks Lashon Hara, it's like killing a person. It's equal to idolatry, murder, idolatry, and illicit, nuts and with things. And the worst form of Lashon Hara is, of course, when you have it at home or when you speak it to the children, because that is very hard to erase. Very difficult. So it was brutal. It was just brutal. I don't wish it upon anybody. And I asked the doctor, I said, can I take a flight to New York? And they said, yeah, there you can go, you're fine. No problem. So I wanted to come and thank you all in person, because it's just too much. It's too much. And the only advice I can give you is, like I said, you all know that He's there. The biggest mistake I guess we do is that when we forget about God, then we come back to God, then we forget about God, then He's there. He's there, He's hidden, He's there, He wants us to be there. And we should, I have this phrase now that I tell my kids, think God, think God. Don't forget about it. Just think about Him all the time. I also wanted to wish refuah shlema to Abraham Chaim ben Yocheved. Oh, they left? Medina? He's also at a point of cancer. I went to visit him today in Borough Park, and when we forget about God, that's where the problems start. Now, I know a lot of you young guys, you came here who was supposed to be a lecture or something like that. I can tell you this, the main test in a man's life, women, you can listen also. The really big test is how we are when it comes to physical relations. That's all it comes down to. When, you come to a city, I don't call it the country, but this city is a city that feeds you because they've read all our books. They know what they're doing. They feed you, they slip it to you. You need to be physical. It's good for you. It's healthy for you. You should do it more often. Dr. Oz and any doctor, they say these things. And a lot of good guys, they get confused. The rabbi mentioned the 3 pillars: Shabbat, Tzedakah, and the Brit. Now it's funny because in Birkat HaMazon we mention the Brit. Eretz Chemda Tov Baruch Haba Brit Ve'Torah Chaim Umazon. No other religion says that. Only we do. Why is that? You have to know why. You must know why. Why did Avraham Avinu come and teach people about God by feeding them? What does that have to do with anything? And the answer is in the pasuk itself. When the angels came to him, the 3 angels, and he fed them, what was the conversation about? They said to him, 1 year from now, your wife will give birth. That means when he didn't have angels coming to the table, it's the only time you see Abraham feeding people. He was probably telling them, 1 year from now, your wives will give birth. Why? Because in the book called Igeret HaKodesh by Nachmanides, he says, the best food turns into the best blood, turns into the best seed, turns into the best embryo. Nothing will change. And nothing has changed. And unfortunately, when you come to a city like this that tells you it's good for you, it's healthy for you, they don't call it what it is. It's called a seed. That's what it is. Because it says in the Torah, man is a tree of the field, a tree bears fruit, a child is called the fruit of the womb. That's what it is. And God has a Seder. Is it okay to say this? It's okay? God has a Seder in the world. There's 4 levels. There's ground. The next level is vegetation. The next level is animal. They eat the vegetation. And then the last step is the human being. So now what happens? If a man becomes physical like this, and he's kaifuid and all these things, what just happens now when that seed for marriage, for creating people in your own image that look like you and talk like you, it's such a pleasure. What happens when it's not used properly? God gets angry. He gets upset. Why? Would you get a bear angry? Would you take a stick and go like this? Get a bear angry? Would you do it? No. So God doesn't like it. Because in God's world, the vegetation grows. That lamb that ate the vegetables had to get plumped up. Then somebody had to shecht it and blow into its lungs and say, yep, it's Bet Yosef. Then they buy the lamb, they eat this lamb, they drink, kaifuim, this, that, blah, 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 blah. And all of these parts of creation did not go where it was supposed to go. And that is the womb that creates more people, which is the beginning of creation in the Torah, the very first commandment. It's in the book of Bereshit, chapter 1, verse 22. You can't miss it. He tells the fish, Pruvu, be fruitful, multiply. And we know that fish is a big thing in Judaism. Then in chapter 1, verse 28, Perek Aleph, Kaf Chet, it says to Adam and Eve, Pruvu, be fruitful, multiply, and dominate the fish of the sea, meaning multiply more than they do. In the next pasuk in 29, God tells you what to eat. He tells you to eat the fruits of the trees and the green herb of the ground. This shall be for you food. What's the connection between the two? Why does it say pruvu and then God is commanding you what to eat? Now you see it clearly. Because what you eat creates people. The Goyim have a phrase, you are what you eat. We don't say that. We say our children are made out of what we eat. That's why, I forgot the rabbi's name, but he had 13 butchers coming to him on Shabbat. Which is the rabbi? Was it Rabbi Yochanan? I forgot. I don't remember. 13 butchers came to his house and somebody's teeth fell. 13 butchers came to his house and he's examining which piece of meat for Shabbat. And I thought, I don't understand. We're not a gluttonous people. Why is he so selective with that? In fact, the whole Torah talks about food. Did you notice this? Adam and Eve eat, don't eat. They ate. The whole world got messed up. Noah gets off the ark. God tells him, commands him to eat meat. Again, food. After 10 generations, Abraham comes to the scene. He teaches people about God through food. Because it's all connected to pruvu, from the beginning of creation. I can go on and on. Jacob and Esau, how does he get the birthright? He sells him a bowl of lentil soup. Yitzhak is about to bless Yaakov, right? He's about to bless him. He tells Esau, bring me my favorite food. Yosef goes to Mitzrayim. He's in jail with a baker and a wine pourer. Again, food. Pharaoh has a dream. He says 7 years, the cows. And Yosef tells him 7 years of food, 7 years of famine. And you're going to eat the old food. But let's forget the Torah right now. What about the Gemara? For those of you that know the Gemara, Masechet Brachot. How does it begin? Time to say the Shema. When do you say it? When the Kohanim eat the Turam, the priestly offerings. The Shulchan Aruch, what does it mean? The set table. What's it set for? Set for what? To eat and drink for fun? No. It's because, again, it all points back. Like a circle has a center. Everything revolves around it. Everything revolves around it. And that's why when you talk to the evangelical Christians in this country, you know what they tell you? Especially the ones in politics. They know all of this. They tell me, they're like, come on, Nissan, you're a religious guy. You know your Bible. Like you're coming to a new country. How do you know who these people are? How do you know they don't have some kind of flaw or desire? You put them in a city where there's a statue that says, give me, you're tired, you're hungry, you're poor, you're yearning to be free. How do you think they became tired, hungry, and poor? Because that's what this does to you, all this physicality. It destroys a man. Our books tell you that clearly. Rambam writes about it. Hilchot Deot. Clearly. It destroys people. And here they tell you, it's good for you. It's good for you. Why do they do that? Because they tell you the story of Adam and Eve. God told them not to eat from the knowledge of good and evil. It's da'at. Because it had nothing to do with pregnancy. And when they ate from it, their eyes became open to physicality. They realized that they were undressed. They realized that you could come together not for the sake of creating people in your own image. And they said, that's what we do. And then the game is fair. And say, how is it fair? They say, don't you see 45 presidents put their hand on what book when they become president? What's the book? Bible. The best-selling book in the world. Every single country has it. Every single nationality knows it. Branched off two daughter religions, Islam and Christianity. And guess who gave it to the world? You know who gave it to the world? Our grandfathers. It's our book. And we don't know it? Pazor. How's that? That's crazy. And now they're going to come and feed us this lie. It's good for you. It's fair. It's what? Freedom. It's not, you got to be very careful. The only way to combat it, there's only one way. You need to be in a religious community. There is no other way. The higher up you go, the greater the people are, the purer the people are. And if, God forbid, something goes wrong, if I would have known how many people would come to my aid, believe me, I would have done much more when I was younger. I would have given much more chesed, because people remember the concert that I did 10 years ago. People that didn't know me, they heard these stories. Because when the pasuk tells you, pay to learn, teach for free, you do this, you don't know what the community, I forgot who said it, she said, don't detach me from the tzibur. She said, I don't want to be detached from the community. I forgot who it was.
I don't want to be detached.
She said, don't detach me from the community. God forbid you isolate yourself and you pray yourself and you do things. You need to be a part of people. You need to be a part of the community. You must. There is no other way. Like the Lubavitch Rabbi used to say, two Jews get together, a third Jew has to receive some kind of benefit from it. And like that, you grow, you stick together, you agree together. Srat Hashem. Thank God. And I get to stand here before you today and tell you this. King David says, right? He said, I will sing praises to you. I will not be silent. Thank God I can do it. It's really miraculous. Remember this, gentlemen. Remember this. The real you is nothing. Yeah. Sometimes I hear people say, "Ты знаешь, кто я такой?" С кем ты говоришь? Some crazy things like this. The real you and me Is Ephes. Tell me. Vision happens through you. Can you control it? Hearing happens through you. What about eating? Happens through you. Digestion happens through you. Blood creation, heart flow, digestion. It happens through you. You can't control it. Liver functions, kidney functions. What about the reproductive organs? We are just sitting in here, in this beautiful machine that God gave us as a matana, as a gift. He says, here, out of pure love, take it, enjoy it. You look like me, be like me. It says, Ani kadosh, ata kadosh, walk in my ways. We're commanded to walk in God's ways. God is slow to anger, quick to forgive. God visits the sick. I can do that. God rests on Shabbat. I can rest on Shabbat. What's the greatest way to be like God? Is to create man in your own image. That is priceless. Ask your parents. Say, what's the greatest gift? What are they going to say? What's the greatest pleasure in your life? What are they going to say? Me. You're going to see it too. Bezrat Hashem. You know, your wives, the ladies here, you say Birkat HaMazon? Eretz Chemda Tova Uchala Brit V'Torah. They don't have a Brit V'Torah Haim U'Mazon. When you guys get married, you prepare for marriage. There's such great books out there, Rabbi Shalom Arush, Garden of Peace. Take it, read it before you're married. Save yourselves for your wives when you're married. And you will see that when your wives say Birkat HaMazon and they say also Brit V'Torah Haim U'Mazon, do you know why they say that? You know why the Chachamim did this? You know why they did that? Once you break the glass and you sign the ketubah, by the way, nobody has a unilateral marriage contract like the Jewish people. One-way document, nobody in the world has that. That book explains why. Your wife says Birkat HaMazon and says these words, Brit V'Torah Chaim U'Mazon, because your Brit Milah is no longer belongs to you. She owns it. And you need to prepare yourselves for that day, gentlemen, because that is the root of every single problem. That's why it's called the Yisod, the foundation. That's why the Rabbi said, Shabbat, Tzedakah, and the Brit. By the way, Tzedakah is another, they're all connected, by the way. All three of them. That I have to explain it to you privately one day, but this is the reality. You're not complete, you're half a person right now, for those of you that are not married. Once you get married, you become an Adam. Where Adam means male and female. There's no plural, right? How do you say it? The plural for man? Ish. Anashim. The plural for Gever, Gevarim. The plural for Isha. Neshim. Right. The only one that's not plural is Adam. There's no Adamim. There's no Adams. When you get married on your chuppah, they're going to tell you the Sheva Brachot. The first one is Yotzer et ha-Adam. Nobody gave birth. It's because husband and wife become one entity. And this is the reality. Rabbi, please forgive me if I said something wrong or anything. This is heavy-duty stuff. But take it. Please. I'm not into all this positive thinking and all of these things. You know, I believe in action. You need to take this. When you walk out of here, take books. Go further. Go learn it. Go find out. Hashem should not show you the hard way of finding out that He runs the world. It's very difficult. Some people make it, some people don't make it. The doctors tell you, we don't know why. That's their way of saying it's really God running it, not us. Okay, I'm going to close with this. Are there any questions? Any comments? Any true stories? No. Thank you. If you're in Israel, look us up. Katie, like old days. Katie, yes.
I have a question.
About it. 1 second. Yes.
Did you meet your donor?
Did I meet the donor? That's a great question. No.
You can't for a year, right?
I can't meet him for a year because if the donor says no and I know who he is, I could say either you give it to me or I burn your house down. Or if he knows who I am, he could say, hey, you want my stem cells? Pay me $500,000. So Ezer Metzion keeps us separated until a year. But when they have the party, Bezrat Hashem.